time of year again, and, well, we didn't stream this year thanks to numerous personal circumstances, and we apologize. However, the Indy 500 did not disappoint. And the 105th running of the greatest spectacle in racing, it was Helio Castroneves, who still has magnificent hair, who made history and became just the fourth man ever to join the Four Timers Club in Indianapolis, alongside legends such as A.J. Foyt, Rick Mears, and Al Unser Sr. It was a brilliant penultimate lap pass on Alex Palou that won him the title after a fantastic final stint, with Simon Pagenaud mounting a furious comeback to third, including a final lap pass on Pagenaud Award in the background of the battle for the lead. We also had some scares as multiple brake failures crept into the race. Cars crashing in pit lane, missing their braking marks on pit entry, such as Ryan Hunter-Ray, who was in contention for a top 5, Simona Di Silvestro, Stephen Wilson, and Scotty McLaughlin, as well as a nasty incident in which Graham Rahall's left rear tire fell off of the rim after not being secured properly. He crashed. Connor Daly's car was struck after Connor Daly was contending for the win. So, 4-time winner in our generation. How awesome was this to see a 46-year-old Helio win number 4?
This was so cool to watch, because the other big thing is this is also the largest attending sporting event that we have had post-COVID. 135,000 people would be allowed at maximum capacity. And boy, at times, it sure felt like it was more than 135,000. The grandstands, they seem to be completely full. I don't know how many people they pack in the infield the whole time. But to see everybody just cheering and chanting for Helio, he's climbing the fence, the fans are climbing the fence with him, that was something special. I could tell that Helio Castroneves had a quick car. I mean, obviously, he made the Fast 9. He was making moves at the start of restarts. But you see him running up at the front for most of this race with Palou and Patricia O'Ward, and you're thinking, he might have a chance to do this. And that's something you wouldn't have expected when this move first came to be, because this is his only race that we know of this year. He's joining a team that hadn't been proven in Meyershank Racing. That's only been full-time for about a year and change. And you think this is really nice that Helio wants to keep competing, but is he going to have a legitimate chance to win? And then he did.
Yeah, I think, like, especially the way the race played out, where you assumed, like, Penske actually do have race pace. They're slowly making their way up to the front. But I was surprised by the teams that we thought were going to have pace just didn't, like Andretti Autosport. And, like, it seemed like, this is definitely, it's going to be, Herta versus, like, Palou or VK, and it didn't play out that way. Like, Hunter-Ray ended up being the only Andretti Autosport car in position to win, and he didn't make it to the end.
Badly blew that final pit entry where, I mean, he was running right behind Helio at the time. He was going to be in the fight. It was kind of a 4 or 5 car pack for the win in that final stint. What are your thoughts, Dre?
I was trying not to be fuming because I couldn't get home in time to watch this race and stream it, but it was a fantastic race. I think the minor adjustments to the aero kit did work. We did get, passing was viable.
I know it!
RJ called that great in his Race Fans article as well. It also helped that we ran this race in May, not
Yes,
August.
Definitely helped. But it wasn't a gimme to pass people, but it was most definitely viable. We saw that over the course of the race, so the cars were raceable.
That's what we wanted, really. We wanted it to be a challenge to overtake, but you could still overtake. And the bottom line is, I don't have to be ratioed for my lead on the preview in case the race turned out to be a dud, which it wasn't. This was one of the better Indianapolis 500s in
I
recent
really
memory.
enjoyed it. No, I really enjoyed it. We got plenty of racing, plenty of green, which is always great to see. This was the
driving
fastest
standards
500.
were so immense. Dre, say that again, because I apologize to cut you off. What did you say that this race was?
In terms of average speed, this was the fastest Indy 500 of all time.
100.
Hit me with the number.
190.690.
Yeah,
Nice.
Average speed.
You have to have impressive driving standards to accomplish that.
And if you consider what happened during the race, there were 0 on-track cautions. The only cautions were entry and Hunter and Graham Rahal on exit. So there were no on-track cautions. No one crashed on track.
Yeah, no one binned it on circuit, which is incredible to even suggest, given we had 33 cars in here, and of course pack racing, a risk of pack racing, and yet no one actually crashed on track. That's incredible.
Yeah, no real critical mistakes. The crashes that happened in the pit lane were brake failure. Yeah. Rahal, who, damn, he was in position to maybe steal this race on an alternate strategy. Team didn't get the left rear tire on, and that was it. But I want to bring it back to the man of the hour, our Strawberry King, who dumped a packet of strawberry flavoring into the milk.
They had it
to
prepared.
Match the fire suit.
Holy shit, that is awesome.
I knew from the second restart, when Helio just ripped around the outside of a pair of cars. He had a car that he could exploit. When you give Helio Castroneves the tools around here, he is just incredible to watch work.
He said it after the race that he knew this car was good from when time trials were over, when his Fast 9 run was over. They did the practice, they did that post-qualifying practice, and he said, this car is good. Michael Shank, don't change anything with it. And they did. They barely ran on carb day, which was wet, and that car was quick. I thought about this in the car as I was driving back, and every one of Helio's wins tells a very awesome story. 2001, he brings Penske back to this race for the first time since 1994. We know what happened in 95, why they didn't race, and we certainly know why they didn't race for the next 5 years after that. And then he becomes the 8th different rookie, and the second one in as many years to win the race as a rookie. He called out Paul Tracy after his post-race interview, saying, "I know there was a race that
goodness,
but there's
we watched him just take Paul Tracy down from the top rope live on international television."
Hit me with the quote, because there's a story in this one. He wins back-to-back years. He holds on in a fuel economy race, partially because of that last caution. And now, holy crap, Helio's in a rare club of back-to-back winners. In 2009, we forget Helio didn't turn a wheel all that year because he was in the trial of his life, facing tax evasion charges based on a contract that was written for another driver who is no longer with us and hadn't been with us for 10 years. And Helio was that driver's replacement. And that had ramifications that 10 years down the road. And Helio wins. He joins an even more elite club of 3-time winners. And he does so in a unified IndyCar series. You're thinking now, okay, this guy's special. These accomplishments are special. And then you think about what it took to get to this point. Losing so narrowly to Hunter Ray in 2014. Ooh. Losing so narrowly to Takuma Sato in 2017. The separation from Penske, and you think, after 2017, gosh, was Helio, who was now transitioning to part-time IndyCar running, you think, was that his last chance to win the Indianapolis 500?
And yet, it played out that it wasn't. And I have the quote right here. PT, I know you've been talking about that second win. PT, I'm sorry, man, that was my win. And now I've just confirmed another win.
Just filleted him on TV.
Vince Carter in the Olympics couldn't dunk that hard.
Let's go home! Let's go home, but let's stay here so we can climb the fence with Helio.
Helio Castroneves Helio Castroneves is immortal.
Yeah,
You're immortal after your first Indy 500 win.
4?
He has
4?
4. The first 4-time winner of our generation. And as Michael Shank, who may be the happiest man currently living, there's a great
chugging Bud Lights in the background.
There's a great picture of Helio coming to a stop on the front straight, and Michael Shank is like almost doing the splits between the two pit roads.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah, like he was a good foot away from getting Helio disqualified.
It's
He had to restrain himself.
First thing he said, I don't see why he can't come back for a 5th win next year.
Of course.
Man.
There's always next year.
I know not to count Helio Castroneves out now, but, you know, from what I've seen, anything's possible. I mean, he just did this with a team that had never won a race 20 years ago.
Now, how's your first IndyCar win for a team at the Indy 500?
With a part-time driver who has no guaranteed races after this, who hasn't run full-time or run a race since 2017, at age 46 becoming the 4th oldest winner, the oldest since Emerson Fittipaldi famously drank something that was not pure white pure white milk in Victory Lane. But look, I mean, we could debate about whether Penske... I don't think it's a matter of this is karma for Penske letting go of Helio. I think at the end of the day, this was just a case of two entities in Penske and Helio Castroneves. They just needed a change from each other, which is wild to think about. And it worked.
About it. Castroneves last year at Penske as a whole is an IMSA champion.
That's
Enters this year, has entered 2 races. The other one was the Rolex 24 at Daytona. He's 2 for 2 this year. He's having a pretty good year.
Yeah. I'm thinking Michael Shank has got to be asking, like, every sponsor that they have, like, hey, can you give us more backing so we can put this dude in a full-time car, or try and find a sponsor to get him back in a full-time car?
I'd love to see Shank expand to a 2-car team.
At least for one last ride. But,
the way, you know what was powerful about that was, like, and I'll get to this in a minute as well, but, like, over 7 million people watched the end of that race and watched the post-race celebration. That is priceless for a series like IndyCar.
Best TV viewership in 5 years for the Indianapolis 500.
IndyCar back to ABC numbers.
Yeah, please.
The sport needed something like that. The sport needed something that was clear. Yeah, there was clearly some buzz in the air. What I was going to say
washed out. Go ahead, Dre.
Yeah, no, look, this was the sport needed this. Motorsport needed this, and it was wonderful. Like I said, that celebration was just iconic. You know, like, and RJ had made this point after the race on Saturday. It was Daytona '98. It was the moment where.
Every crew, every driver, every team owner. Mario Andretti kissed him on the head, blessed him like the Pope.
It was you had literally a third of the paddock joined him on the track to celebrate with him and the team.
Legend says he's still running up and down the front straight.
He ran halfway down the straight. He climbed the fence. He had Connor Daly hug him. Will Power was bowing in front of him. Simon Pagenaud with the most he had a bigger smile on his face than when he won it 2 years ago. It was, the pictures on Instagram. He just goes, Helio!
Simon Pagenaud said that win gave him another 10 years on his career.
More on him a little later, because I got some thoughts.
Because all of that, it was wonderful. Look, Helio is one of the real good guys in all of motorsport. We talk about his hair because we love him. He's hilarious, he's funny, he's charismatic, he's never not smiling, he's always happy. If you didn't smile at that celebration, I don't think motorsport is for you. That was a awesome nod to the series, and a series that I've said before on Twitter has a knack of producing magical moments. And it was funny, it was happy, it was emotional, it was everything we love about motorsport on a day that we got reminded of everything that we hate about motorsport sometimes, and we needed that, and it was wonderful, and even down to the packet of fucking strawberry flavoured Nesquik they put in the milk, which was just genius. It was.
You just only shook that awesome. A little bit. How strong was that first sip? Oh.
Big glug of
But,
powder. We all know that feeling. We've all been there with a can of Nesquik at some point. It was wonderful. Everything about it was wonderful. Oh, congrats to Helio. The sport needed something like that. And we got to go down the field a little bit and pick out some of the other interesting performances, but we have to get one in because of King's favourite iRacing buddy. King, so close. So
He's going to
close.
take it out on King for the remainder of the year.
No, look, King's pick was way better than all of ours, so yeah, I can't mock him for it, because Alex Palou was second, and that was a magnificent drive for him, and has only had, his second ever attempt at this? And
he was sensational.
I mean, not only, a phenomenal performance, King, but building the backbone for a serious title challenge now.
Yeah, he's retaken the points lead by a wide margin.
36 points.
More on that later.
Yeah, where he said he didn't know how much it was going to hurt to finish second until he actually finished second.
I mean, look, Alex Palou, in his second attempt at this race, did almost everything right. The problem is he was up against Helio Castroneves, a master of this track. Yeah, and Helio made the right move when he needed to, and right at the end, the traffic came into play, and Palou couldn't get a run on him.
Yeah. Palou said, look, it hurts losing the 500 this close, but, it's not that bad if you lose it against probably the best, if not the best to ever do it. What we saw on the biggest stage was, look, Alex Palou's already won a race in IndyCar, but this was his coming out party. This is to reinforce that, hey, this guy is as good as advertised when Chip Ganassi brought him in after just one season in the IndyCar series. He is finding consistency and pace that no other Ganassi teammate has found since Dario Franchitti was forced to hang it up in 2013. And there's a good list of drivers that is included in that list of people who have tried. Tony Kanaan, of course, was in that list. They had a B team of Charlie Kimball and Graham Rahal and Matt Chilton and guys. Then they bring out guys like Ed Jones and Felix Rosenquist, who were all very, very talented, but just couldn't get together. But now, Alex Palou, this season, it's all coming together.
I think we said on our Discord it was the first time since, 2011 where Scott wasn't the leading chip car. That is... Even if you take in things like maybe a bad first weekend or a bad second week when the points are all still closer, that is a terrifying statistic. Yeah. That Dixon's been their lead car essentially for 10 years straight until this weekend. That's unbelievable to even suggest. We almost got that first Spanish winner we were thinking we were going to get 4 years ago, but not the one you expected.
Look, if you've just run second place in your second ever Indianapolis 500 to Helio Castroneves, I think you've got a pretty solid future ahead of you.
Oh yeah.
I'd most certainly say so. He's got a 36-point lead in the championship after this double-point round. That's a sizable margin, given we're back to 50 points for a win. That's going to take some work, or hopefully not, but a disastrous weekend for Palou to turn that deficit round. Not race again next week, but that would have been terrifying. Shout out to Zoe as well on our Discord, who pointed out another fun stat real quick, saying, quote, if Alex had won, he would have been the first teammate since Dario to score more than one win.
That's even more terrifying a statistic.
That's ridiculous.
Well, I think Palou's going to get another win before this season's over.
Absolutely.
I think so too. It's a salvage title, but you'd never see the body feel special after pancaking the wall in practice.
Yeah, he had quite the week, to say the least, and yet climbed in, I mean, if I'm being ultra critical, maybe not quite defensive enough at the end of that race, but I'm nitpicking here against a man who's done literally 19 more 500 attempts than he has. I mean,
it's all timing, and at the end of that race, with the ability that these cars had to pass, he made his final move a little too early. But now he knows, and he got to watch a master at work over the last couple of laps holding him off.
Look at it this way. Given what we now know about the traffic on the final lap, like, that was probably Helio's last chance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe down the back straight on lap 199, but he had maybe one decent chance left to set that up. Helio couldn't have left it any later if he tried. That was a move he had to make, and he stuck it. And that's what won him the race. And if you're getting beaten by the most clutch of clutch overtakes to win the biggest race in your season, there's no shame in that whatsoever. That was a magnificent performance. And you know what? In the context of the championship, he's the real winner, because a lot of the big contenders did not have a good 500. Primarily his teammate Dixon, who had to go a lap down, or almost went a lap down early on. He was a lap down, but got the lap back later on. But, Dixon and Dixon struggled, Rossi struggled. We'll get into a little bit more of that down the road. But, I mean, who else surprised you, gentlemen, during that race?
Pick one person. I want to start because I know somebody is chomping at the bit. And that is New Hampshire's own Cameron Buckley. Talk about him.
I'm going to pick a primary one, and then a second one, because there's actually
That's just greed.
It is greed, but there's another performance in the top 10 that I think was absolutely fantastic. After qualifying, you may have watched the episode where I was drinking rye whiskey straight out of a bottle every time I had to talk about Penske's qualifying. More specifically, Simon Pagenaud, who won this race from pole 2 years ago and then qualified 26th this year with Penske's terrible, no good, very bad qualifying setups. I think they should have left the race setups on for qualifying. He tore through the field. His pit stops were immaculate, multiple 6.5 second stops when most people couldn't get below a 7 second. His car was quick in traffic. He saved the right amount of fuel. And in the final stint, he came out of his final stop a couple seconds behind the lead pack. He ran them down without a toe on raw pace. Got there just a little bit too late to make a play for the win. But he entered that final lap with fire coming out of his ears. Swallowed Patricio Award, who had ran a fantastic race, whole on the backstretch, and almost got Palou on the line. I will take... He had the speed. I think he got there just a little bit too late.
5 more laps would have been very interesting.
I think 2 more. He caught Palou so fast, I don't know. But given the context of qualifying, given the repeated rumblings about his seat, Simon Pagenaud saved Roger from a pretty embarrassing month of May. I will take a 3rd place.
He saved the whole bag. The bag was already in midair being fumbled, and Pagenaud makes a diving grab like a baseball player to save it at the last minute, because that was a magnificent drive for Simon Pagenaud. God,
I'd argue he that might be as good a drive as when he won here 2 years ago.
It's up there.
When he won here, he clearly had an incredible car. He could dictate the pace. He had to claw and scratch for every position here, and he did.
I'm going to add a little bit more context to how impressive that drive was. There were 8 different drivers on lap 45 who were sent to the back of the pack for making emergency fuel stops during the first caution for Stefan Wilson. You might know this is the period where Scott Dixon and Alexander Rossi couldn't get their cars fired. Simon Pagenaud had to start that race at the back with 1/4 of the race already done.
Yeah.
A last to podium challenge, effectively.
He's done it before.
when he's got something to work with here, he's another one of those guys who's just so fun to watch around this place. My second pick, take a bow, Sage Karam.
You
from
stole
the
my
last
pick,
row
motherfucker.
shootout.
The
Sage
homeboy.
Karam, the homeboy, last row shootout to 7th in a one-off entry with a team that has fallen very much on hard times, hasn't run a full schedule in the better part of a decade.
Yeah.
Get this man a full-time seat.
Absolutely. Like, people forget, Sage Karam was once a teenage phenom at this speedway. He was driving full-time for Chip Ganassi, but the problem was everything just kept falling out of the sky. Some of it was his fault, not all of it, but I just want to put this in a context that, like, this is the best finish that Dreyer Reinbold Racing have had in an IndyCar race since 2013 Sao Paulo, when Oriol Servia was still driving for them. And they were about to have to shut down as a full-time team and become Indy only for much of that. This completely flew under the radar, too, because we weren't even clocking the, like, oh, wow, Sage Karam, who started 33rd, had to go through a second last row shootout in the last 3 years, has now made his way into the top 7 on pace.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, it was like overtaking's improved, but it hasn't improved that much. People in the back are probably going to stay there, right?
Well, so
No, but if you had the pit crew, and his pit crew as well did a great job, if you had the tools and you had the ability, you could make it work. And Sage definitely did.
He's still only 26 years old. No. And I don't know if he's ever going to get a full-time chance again. But if you're a startup IndyCar team, and you've got a sponsorship, I don't know if you would do a lot worse to pick someone else other than Sage here.
Yeah, we could do a lot worse. He's been to hell and back in his racing career, Sage. And I know we've made a bit of we've made a bit of an inside joke on this show over the last few years, calling him the homeboy and whatnot. But his talent was never in question. I remember watching him under the days of Chip and thinking, this kid is really, really fast round ovals. And I thought with the right setup, he could do amazing things in that car. And to go from 31st to 7th is absolutely sensational. It's a Driver of the Year contender, as far as I'm concerned. That crew and that team had no business cracking the top 10 whatsoever. They had not looked like they were particularly fast all week long, as you mentioned in the last row shootout the previous week on Bump Day, and yeah. One of the first real drivers to speak out about mental health as well, as Sage pointed out. Sorry, pointed out on our Discord as well. I mean, yeah, he's a powerful figure and a wonderful performance from him. And yeah, a great result to pick up that prize money for the team as well. All round delighted for Sage. Wanted to give a shout out to another old man, JPM, who went from 24th to 9th, who very quietly went about his business as well. I mean, okay, I know people were talking about Monty and his lack of attempts and how he's got this incredible winning record, but again, given that only really Pato out of the McLaren camp looked particularly fast all week, that's a very impressive drive from JPM as well, at his old age as well, relatively speaking. But, King, you got any other picks there that might have surprised you in a positive way?
Oh, no, not in particular. Maybe, I'd probably say maybe Scott McLaughlin, because he ended up on an alternate strategy. He was doing really well. It's just the cards didn't fall in his favor, and he had to pit near the end. But when he was out there, oh Lord, he was quick.
Scott McLaughlin did not reserve to finish down in 20th. First, he was one of those folks who had a brake issue going into the pits. He said that was one of the scariest things, trying to slow that car down on cold brakes, try and get in the pit lane. But before that, he was a stone cold lock for a top 10 finish. That was the only mistake
he was a lock for
made.
He was in the fight for the win. How the race had played out, he ended up in that final stint ahead of Pagenaud, kind of hanging on to the coattails of the top 3. Yeah. But because of how his strategy was affected by the stop and go penalty and having to throw the dice, Drive-through, yes. He had to pit near the end. His finish does not reflect how well he drove. He looked like he was at this track for years.
Yeah, I will say he does get Rookie of the Year honors out of that because he did finish ahead of Pietro Fittipaldi. Yeah, he was impressive all weekend long.
Yeah, very impressive. First time showing. Man, right? He continues to impress me. I was always in the camp of, like, are you sure Scott McLaughlin can work in this series coming off of supercars? Wrong. I was totally wrong.
Yeah. Very wrong.
I was wrong too.
Scotty McLaughlin, very, very good.
Exceptionally talented racing driver.
Regardless of whatever support he's getting from Penske, this is turning out great.
This month, you didn't want to be in a Penske.
No, and he looked mad impressive despite the inevitable, unfortunate result in the end. He was very, very impressive indeed. On the other side of the coin, who were the big disappointments? Can I start this off by saying anyone in an Andretti?
Yeah.
I damn it, Dre. I was going to say, because I'm not going to go with the two obvious ones because I think their races were affected out of their control.
Yeah,
Colton Herta was on fire all month until the green flag fell. He led, I think, a sum total of a lap and just faded.
Where did the pace go in the second half? Like it was the second half in particular where he just felt like a stone.
Yeah,
I was like, what happened? Because again, like you could make an argument he was the fastest man on the speedway in the week going into this, alongside Dixon. That was about it. Like
he and Dixon were throwing hands all month, and then as it stands, Dixon's race falls apart. I'm sure that will come up, and Herta just doesn't have the speed. And it wasn't like it was an Andretti-wide issue as well, because until his brake issue, Ryan Hunter-Reay was in the fight for the win.
Yeah.
It was just very odd.
It's not all Andretti tech, because remember who provides technical support to now Indianapolis 500 champions, Meyershank Racing.
Yeah, that's kind of a black eye on Andretti Autosport. That only just clocked with me.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Herta was nowhere, Hinchcliffe was nowhere, Hunter-Reay kind of blew it for himself to a degree with that last pit entry when he was running in the top five in the lead group. He had a real shot at the win. That might be a career-defining mistake by Hunter-Reay, given the context of... Yeah.
Ryan Hunter-Reay's career probably ended with that brake failure.
He's 40 years old. He's not been particularly good at any point in this season. He needed a big 500, didn't get one. And there are rumours coming out of the Robin Miller mailbag this afternoon that apparently Alex Rossi is fed up there as well. So there could be... They could blow this team up. It wouldn't be unthinkable. They could blow the whole thing up.
Especially the team this scale, where it's like they're running... 5 cars?
I said it
5.
I said it at the end of last year in our season review for IndyCar. It's like Andretti's overextended themselves running this many cars, where, yes, you have the drivers, you have the support from Honda. Occasionally you get the results, but rather than everyone benefiting, it feels like everyone's running mid-pack.
No.
Ugh. Boy, oh boy. The
only thing I'm sure of going forward with Andretti is that Herta is there to stay, because despite the lack of pace, Herta did go down fighting in this race.
There was enough from Herta on the table to suggest that he really is the leader of this team now. And you know, Rossi looks demotivated as all hell. I mean, I picked him to win this race because I said going in, he's probably the fastest man here now over the last 2 or 3 years, but it seems like, as Cam alluded to, he's probably overexerted himself. And combined, I mean, it's not all on Alex. He's had some rough luck in the last year and a half, most certainly. Been in multiple wrecks that were not on him. But...
Well, the problem with Alex is that half the time it's not on him. Sometimes it is.
I'll tell you, in this race, you know what didn't help? The fact that when he got the restart at the back of the field, he was already a lap down. You know what didn't help him get back in the lead lap like Scott Dixon? Taking another emergency service in a closed pit restart at the back of the field penalty. He had 2 of those.
Yeah, and it KO'd his race before it even really began because when Dixon and Rossi were stuck back in the pack, they both had pace. But if you get stuck a lap down here, there's not a whole lot you can do other than maybe land a lucky caution.
You want to talk about luck. You want to talk about what disappointed me? Ed Carpenter Racing's 3 cars didn't deserve to finish where they did. Ironically, Ed Carpenter, who spent the whole race himself fighting back from stalling it out of the bots on his first stop, had the best result of their 3 drivers. Renus VK and Connor Daly were running in tandem. They led a combined 72 laps between them. VK was on fire in the first stint, and then Connor Daly, once we got to the second quarter, I knew that he was from Indiana. I did not expect him to get the full Austin pop when he passed VK.
That was epic. That like was... the 130. It's like they knew Daly was the hometown guy, and he got the hometown pop. It's like, yeah, Daly leads.
That was 40 more laps than any member of his family had led up to that race. The 7 that he'd started before, the 6 that his father Derek started before that. So naturally,
ECR was a very curious case. They had the speed in qualifying when no other Chevrolet teams did. But there was a price to pay for all that speed.
Fuel mileage. As we all know, Chevrolet engines are very fuel efficient.
As fuel efficient as a twin turbocharged LS drag racing engine. They downed their fuel so quick that it really hamstrung their race. And specifically for VK, I think it did. For Daly, you can't really control when a tire up and falls out of the sky and slams into your nose cone.
Hell of an effort, though, to Daly for not only finishing the race with that damage, but at first, it didn't look like it affected him much because he was making moves at the start. But then, that thing was just plowing like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, I think they described it as they took out so much rear wing to try and balance the car back that it was like it was in qualifying trim. 2% center of pressure shift. And for perspective, 0.25% of center of pressure shifting is really bad.
No.
It's like Connor Daly's bad luck at this speedway continues even when he's got a race-winning level car. He led 40 laps of this race, so of course the racing gods were like, that's far too many, drop a tyre on his front nose. Of course! One that bounced off the back of Graham Rahall's car. I mean, what are the odds? I felt so bad for Daly, I really did. That was a damn shame because he had a phenomenal race up to that point and was running really, really well. It's a disappointment, but not for drive wants, but just for Daly just has miserable damn luck. We joked about it years past. He was the bad luck Brian of the Indy 500, and in a sense that kind of continued on this one. But any other takers on that one, folks?
I'm actually gonna say one of the cars that was involved in that crash, but the whole team, Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan, just never really showed. Graham Rahal had this race potentially in his pocket, saving fuel on an alternate strategy, and they threw the race right into the trash, yelling Kobe when they failed to secure his left rear wheel, and he crashed, thankfully, at relatively low speed.
Yeah.
But I'd say for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan, just the race and fall their way, where it's like, with Graham, we saw what happened. Takuma was also on the alternate strategy that didn't play out.
Sato's race was inadvertently affected by Graham's race ending like that. I had a feeling like if that changes, they're both right up in the top 5 with a chance to win.
And the best Rahal car ended up being Santino Ferrucci, who finished 6th place.
I don't know how he
because when you think Because when you think of Santino Ferrucci, you think of calm, level-headed, methodical, and keeping his nose out of trouble.
I know I know we got no love for that dude. And I'm sure if he listened to this podcast or at least watched the video where I went off on his Silverstone tirade in 2018, that I'm sure the feeling's mutual, buddy. And that's fine. We can talk it out later. I don't know how he does this. I don't know how he keeps cranking out top sixes at the speedway, even as a part-time driver.
Even as a driver who was injured in a crash here. And wiped out his primary car.
Mountain Dew sponsor. I can't say this.
The car is the embodiment of a gamer moment, and it finished in sixth. Sport is not fair. Across the board, okay? It's not fucking fair, okay? But the man's always been really good at oval, so I can't say I was totally surprised at this, but...
It's a little bit of strategy. It was a little bit of weird strategy that he pulled off the race. I don't know how he does it. But bottom line, what do we all make of this Indianapolis 500?
Awesome.
First and foremost, this was a great mint after the sewage of last year's race, which was just the most abysmal, awful on-track product that we could watch. This was everything you could ask out of the Indy 500. Great on-track racing. Everyone walked away, thankfully, again, after the circumstances of the weekend. That's huge.
Yeah.
A great story for the winner. Great attendance. Again, the biggest crowd that we've had since the pandemic started. This is big, not just for this race, not just for motorsport, but for world sport, period.
Yeah.
This was a race the world needed.
If I could sum it up in one word, magnificent.
Couldn't have put it better myself. Yeah, no, look, I think that was the best IndyCar race in general we've had this season. That was a superb race. Very much enjoyed it. It ticked every box. It was fast, it was exciting. You know, we weren't held back by cautions. There was alternate strategies. There were surprises. There was mixes of pace. And we got a fantastic finish in the end between two guys we really, really did not think would contend for this win. Well, maybe one guy we didn't think would contend for this win. Well done, King. And we got a happy ending that I think sent everybody home happy. And, you know, we needed that in the context of motorsport for that awful weekend and in general. A great win for the series, a great win, as Cam said, for motorsport, for world sport in general. Just a fantastic race and another fantastic endorsement for a series that we very much love on this show. And long may it continue, which is kind of strange because we actually don't have an IndyCar race this weekend. Traditionally, we normally get a race in Detroit, so the duel in Detroit straight away. It's next week. I believe on this one. So we'll be talking about that in a couple of weeks' time.
They had to put it off. Helio's still running up and down the front stretch.
Yeah. We got to fish him out of the fence. At this point, we got to put him down like one of those like comedy hooks. At some point, he's still running down that pit straight. But we do have a lot of action this weekend. We have Formula One is back. Baku will welcome us again for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I know you're all riveted and excited for this. We're waiting forward to the annual coin toss as whether this race is complete chaos or not. How do you fancy it, guys? Yeah, no.
Well, you forgot one big race this weekend.
What could that be, King?
The 24 hours of the Nürburgring.
You're damn right.
That as well, very much so. I didn't forget about that for a second.
24 hours of Nürburgring. It's looking like a soggy Nürburgring.
Oh boy.
Is the bathrobe coming back out, buddy?
I have no idea. But as an actual note for that, there is one team beyond just my normal brand allegiance. I really hope Ricciardelli wins. I really hope they put one in the bag for Sabine.
That's Sabina Schmidt's team.
Go Go Team Sabine. That'll be awesome. We've got that. We've got Formula 1 at Baku, and we'll be talking about MotoGP at Catalonia as well. It's going to be hopefully a very fun weekend. And yeah, Motorsport needs to smile again after the week we've had. I didn't get the housekeeping out of the way at the top of the show for obvious reasons, so we'll get it out of the way here. Basically, you can find us. We're on youtube.com/motorsport101. We're on facebook.com/motorsport101. We're on Twitter, motorsport_101. If you'd like to follow our personal handles, you can on screen right now. If you're listening to us, it's at Harrison101HD, at Ryan Eric King, at cbuckley917, and at RJ O'Connell. We're on Instagram as well, at Motorsport101pod. You can check out an exclusive picture of Ryan King's desktop if you like on there. It's a fun time for all involved. There's a very handsome fella on the front, though, if I do say so myself. Good merchandise choice as well. I don't know where
a man literally bathing in green narcotic.
I don't know where this shirt came from, honestly. I thought I threw it out of the window last year during Imola. Point is that, that's on there as well. You can follow us on there for updates on episodes and all that good stuff as well. And if you really, really like us, you can back us financially on Patreon. Patreon.com/motorsport101. $5 gets you early access to all our episodes normally, but for episodes 305 and 307, and maybe a couple more as well, is to make up for an apology for not being there for the 500 stream as planned. There'll be a few episodes going out for just $1, so do check it out if you haven't already. For the price of a really cheap coffee, you could get several episodes of the show. So, hey, no better time to back us on Patreon than right now. We're sorry. Normally it's $5 for the audio episodes.
Tentatively, we will be back next year with a vengeance.
Yes, we will stream for 16 straight hours.
Oh, God.
Well, remember, next year, the Indianapolis 500 and the Nürburgring 24 Hours land on the same day. 24-hour stream, baby!
No. That's what we're not about to do.
Unless we're raising money for a good cause. May need to do some research on that.
Why not?
No, there's an idea.
There's a real day of classics.
That's the day, the night, the whole shebang of classics. Yeah, $5 for all the audio shows normally, $10 for the video version, and be able to listen to the supporters club, so you can get these episodes live as they're being recorded. Shout out to all you guys on YouTube as well, like Gibran and Jason and Finley. Good to see you guys in there as always. Thanks to Zoe and Vic on Discord. All of that good stuff, and our website as well for all of our written content as well, motorsport101.com. Thanks, Stuart, for blowing up my post about the paywalls and it going semi-viral. My mentions will be very grateful for that. Cheers, Stuart. Much appreciated, sir. So you can check all of that out on there as well. But until next time, I've been Andre Harrison. They've been Ryan Eric King, RJ O'Connell, and Cam Buckley. This one's for Jason. Ride in peace, buddy. We won't forget you anytime soon. Sayonara.
Helio Castroneves belongs to forever.
Bye.
And yet, he still has, even at 46, magnificent hair.